What's in it for me? Unlearn the habit stifling your creativity and awaken the genius within. Picasso, Galileo, Beethoven, Curie. Some geniuses need no validation or explanation, but those are just the famous ones. The truth is, we are all geniuses. Each one of us is born into this world as a unique individual. Yet, as we spend our lives within the scaffolding of school, work, society, and family, we stop questioning who we are and what we really want, instead following a path that becomes increasingly narrow as we age. It's never too late to break free. In Awaken Your Genius, learn how to, gently, kill off the old bits of you that no longer work, be born into a new version of yourself, and rewrite your story. Gordon Mackenzie, a Hallmark cards artist, noticed an interesting trend when he visited schools to talk to kids. When he asked students how many artists were in the room, almost every kid in a first-grade classroom leaped up. By third grade, that number had dwindled to a third of the room. By sixth grade, barely one or two raised their hands. What happened? What caused creativity to dry up? Each one of us is a genius. You are completely unique, a one and only byproduct of a very specific set of circumstances, lineage, and environmental factors. Yet, as we proceed through life, gaining an education in a structured school, taking on the expectations of parents, friends, and society, we begin to shed that which is unique and instead add layers that obscure authenticity. We are hiding our genius. But it's never too late to try to get it back. To awaken your genius, you will need to undergo an internal journey, one that requires reflection, unloading the baggage of learned thinking and expectations, and setting yourself on a path to awakening. In the first step, the death, you will learn to unload that which no longer serves you. This isn't easy. You are probably attached to your identity, but for something new to come, something old has to go. This death opens the gateway for the second step, the birth of the new you. Next, we'll talk about kindling your creativity during your inner journey. And the fourth step shows you how to adjust to the world outside. This takes us to the final step, transformation. You may know the late Gillian Lynne as the choreographer of Cats and the Phantom of the Opera. By any measure, she was a success, but when Lynne was little, she was considered a problem child and bad student. Running out of options, her mother took her to a doctor. After some observation, the doctor asked her mother to leave the room with him, but left Lynne behind with the music turned on. Through the glass door, they watched the child leap and twirl to the music. The doctor's prescription? Enroll this child in dance class right away. Like Lynne, many of us are trapped within a system that doesn't suit us. Most of us are the products of traditional educational systems, hierarchical environments that encourage memorization and passive absorption. To awaken your genius, the first step is to relearn. And to do that, you have to first unlearn, or discard that which no longer suits you. Maybe you excelled in biology and volunteered in hospitals, but while applying to medical school, decided that you were no longer stoked by the idea of practicing medicine. It might be hard to throw off years of work and the identity you claimed as an aspiring doctor, but remember this: you are not your identity. Your identity is a story you tell yourself, but it is not actually you. You may love music and play in a band, but you are not just a musician. You may drive a Mercedes, but that is what you have, not what you are. Choosing one aspect by which to define your whole self minimizes your vastness and reality. Become comfortable in the gray area of uncertainty. Entertain and accept contradictory thoughts. Reject a tribal mentality that dictates that you always align your thoughts with a particular group. Treat your attention as the most important commodity you have. Don't give it away cheaply to every alert on your phone, the demands of the 24-hour news cycle, or the siren song of social media. Once you have created the space within, sit still. And wait to be reborn. On Valentine's Day in 2005, 3 bored young engineers decided to create a website for singles to post videos and introduce themselves to prospective significant others. The idea didn't take off, but the effort wasn't a complete waste of time. Today, you'd know it as YouTube. YouTube's first iteration may not have worked, but by taking it apart and retrieving usable building blocks, those engineers were able to build something that did. What are your building blocks? Your skills? Your talents? It might be something that comes so easily to you that you don't recognize as a talent. It might be something that made you think of yourself as weird or different, but is actually a superpower. And don't limit yourself to one facet. You can be an athlete who writes, a musician who practices law, a chef who climbs mountains and runs marathons. Discover and combine the multitudes that live within you. While undergoing this process of rebirth, ask yourself, what is my mission? My purpose in life? Keep an energy journal to note what energizes you, and, conversely, what drains you. What is exhilarating, and what makes you feel heavy? Dive into possibilities by exploring other careers and ways of being. Talk to those who do what you might be interested in and try to experience their world a little. While you undergo this wondrous journey of experimenting with what you might like to do or become, here's one thing you do not need to take along for the ride: external validation. Consider that Jason Alexander was nominated 8 times for an Emmy for playing George Costanza on Seinfeld, and never won. Or that Isaac Asimov didn't make the New York Times bestseller list until he'd written 262 books. Imagine if either Alexander or Asimov had decided that the lack of accolades correlated to a lack of talent, and stopped producing their work. In relying on external validation, you allow others to set your agenda. Things like beauty, compassion, and creativity can't truly be measured, and therefore, no award or medal truly captures their fullness. Don't oversaturate your mind with other people's thoughts, opinions, and ideas instead of germinating your own. Instead, keep a Word document open on your computer so you can put ideas down as they come up. Keep your ideas private and honest. Listen to your gut instinct. Connect with others to brainstorm, but make sure you collect a diverse group of thinkers. Go for long walks. This is especially helpful in the lull between having a good idea and actually working on it. In a Stanford study where 2 groups of people were given a divergent creativity test, the group that walked on a treadmill before the test scored higher than the one that had spent the time sitting down. Ignore your inner critic who crankily points out the inconsistencies and lack of reason in your ideas. You don't need that guy to put a lid on your creative juices as they are flowing. Of course, your new idea is unreasonable. It doesn't exist yet. What fosters creativity? Play. At any age. Checklists are great when you're performing surgery or flying a plane, but when you're trying to make a new thing happen, sometimes you need to follow your interest, like Charles Darwin did when he read books about geology for fun. Or like the cast of The Office did when they got stuck, they wrote an episode of another show. Next time you're stuck at work, maybe try to come up with an idea for a competitor's product. Think about where you do your thinking, and consider playing with whatever noun you answered that with. Office? Boring. How about an idea lab? Instead of a meeting, how about a collaboration cave? At Brazilian can manufacturer Brasilata, there are no employees. Everyone who works there is an inventor. Not knowing, and not over-researching or over-preparing, can help you launch something truly new and creative. Ignore the critics. They are the same people who called Galileo, Stephen King, and Walt Whitman stupid, prejudiced, and blasphemous. Care about other people's approval, and you become their prisoner, said Lao Tzu. In this information age, most of us have become consumers of what we assume are facts. But how many of us question them? Breakfast is the most important meal of the day. We parrot to our children, not bothering to do the research that would show us how that theory was proposed by cereal maker Kellogg. Skepticism is important, especially today when misinformation can be instantaneously transmitted without fact-checking. Questioning also exposes us to different ideas and viewpoints that are otherwise easily avoided by algorithms that choose what we view. When seeking to engage with the world meaningfully, it is tempting to reach out to guides and leaders. But beware the guru, for what you see of them is what they want you to see. You rarely see the full truth of someone else's trailblazing path, whether it's an Instagram influencer, a writer, a musician, or a scientist. You don't always need to follow other people's advice either. Remember that when they advise you, they do so based on their personal experience, not yours. So seek out multiple and diverse voices, and then apply their suggestions to your own situation to see if it works for you. Remember also that when we look at heroes, we see only survivors. Not every person who dropped out of college and moved to Silicon Valley ended up founding the world's biggest computer company. Steve Jobs' success may have come to him regardless of whether or not he graduated from college. We have no way of knowing, so it does not make sense to drop out of college because he did. Will it help? 3 small words, 1 simple question: will it help? To read another article about the college your child did not get into? To check out statistics about plane crashes before a big trip? To see what the experts have to say about a new pandemic? The truth is, even experts don't always get it right. No one can predict the future. Worrying about what may never come to pass is a complete waste of time and energy. To move toward your transformation, it is necessary to let go of your notion of your future. Having a general idea is one thing, but trying to force life along a predicted, planned path will often not work because of things beyond your control. A life that works out exactly as you planned is not just unlikely. It may not be as satisfying, as you have removed the potential for growth and exciting possibility. The only constant is change. If you tie yourself too tightly to a particular version of yourself, you are stifling the potential of the future versions of you that cannot come into the light until you have extinguished the present version of you. It is painful to leave the familiar, especially when the familiar is so closely tied to your identity. If you are thinking of leaving a career in law to teach, for example, you may wonder if you are still yourself if you are no longer a lawyer. Others around you may react negatively, resenting you for removing your old presence, or for reminding them of their stagnation. Their discomfort is not your burden to bear. Consider that for the butterfly to unfurl, the caterpillar has to no longer exist in its form. Living up to the full potential of your genius life means letting the old one go, the one that is bound to all sorts of preconceived notions, and truly embracing the unique brilliance of you. Thank you for watching. Kindly check out other book summaries on this channel.